From Supermax to Supermax, how the most dangerous inmates are transferred. It's 3 a.m. A door slams. The sound of heavy boots echoing through concrete corridors. Guards rush in, their radios crackling with urgency. Get him in the van. Now. Within moments, the cell is empty. No warning. No explanation. One of the most notorious inmates in the system is suddenly gone, transferred without so much as a glance back. But where do they take a man like this? What happens when a prisoner is so dangerous, so uncontrollable, that even the highest security Supermax prisons can't hold them anymore? What's going on behind those thick walls? In this world of steel doors, razor wire, and solitary confinement, the answers are as elusive as the prisoners themselves. And today, you'll get a rare look into one of the most secretive operations in the prison system, how the most dangerous criminals are moved from one Supermax to another. The highest security prisons. Supermax prisons are often the final destination for those whose crimes have shaken the very core of society. These are the criminals that no one dares to forget. The ones who have shattered the lives of countless victims. Serial killers, mafia bosses, and terrorists who have made it their life's work to inflict pain, suffering, and fear. But the thing about Supermax prisons is that no matter how secure they are, there's always someone willing to challenge the system. And that's why even these high-security institutions sometimes need to take extreme measures. The most dangerous inmates are held in places like ADX Florence in Colorado, Pelican Bay in California, or Belmarsh in the UK. Each facility is an impenetrable fortress of concrete, steel, and technology. But sometimes, these places can't contain the sheer violence of some of the world's most notorious criminals. That's when a transfer is needed. The transfer. The transfer process is one of the most secretive and high-stakes operations in the prison system. It's not like a regular inmate move. These are men who have been deemed too violent, too unpredictable, and too dangerous to remain in one location. Guards are ready for anything. A prisoner transfer like this can take days to plan, involving dozens of officers, specialized teams, and even armored vehicles. It all starts with a simple phrase, "We've got a problem." The inmate's behavior, whether in prison or in their previous location, has escalated beyond what anyone can manage. Maybe they're making threats, trying to incite a riot, or plotting an escape. Maybe they've hurt someone, or worse, they're manipulating other inmates from the inside. Once the decision is made, the transfer begins. In most cases, it's done in the dead of night. At least, that's what the public believes. The truth is, these prisoners are often moved under the cover of complete secrecy, away from prying eyes. Guards are told just hours before the transfer happens, and only those involved in the operation know the full plan. A massive transport vehicle with tinted windows rolls out of the prison gates. Inside, the prisoner is shackled, often in full restraints. No one knows where they are going. But the journey is long and dangerous. The hidden networks of power. As the vehicle winds its way toward the next Supermax, there's something more going on inside the prison system than just a simple transport. These high-profile transfers are often a game of strategy and survival. There are rules. Unspoken rules that the guards follow to keep their secrets. When the news of a transfer leaks, it can send shockwaves through the prison world. Inmates will do anything to find out where their former brothers in crime are being moved. It's not just about escaping. It's about power. The moment an inmate is transferred from one high-security facility to another, it can upset the balance of the entire prison system. Their absence creates a vacuum, a void that someone else will try to fill. But in the world of Supermax prisons, that's not always an easy task. Prison gangs, with their sprawling networks of influence, can be a threat to the safety of the prison and its operations. And when a prisoner is moved, it can send a message that ripples throughout these criminal organizations. A transfer isn't just about keeping someone locked away. It's a calculated decision, a move in a game that could cost lives if it's not done right. The secretive journey. As the transfer vehicle makes its way to the new facility, it's often escorted by multiple armed guards and even military support. A convoy of unmarked vehicles follows behind, ensuring that nothing goes wrong. But the journey is not without danger. Inmates are known to try and escape during transfers. Some have attempted to hijack the transport, knowing full well that the guards are outnumbered, at least temporarily. Others have tried to slip through the cracks, bribing the right people, or exploiting any weakness they can find in the system. For those inside the transport van, it's a high-stakes game of survival. The slightest mistake could lead to disaster. And for the guards, it's a test of nerves and strategy. One wrong move, and the entire operation could fall apart. After hours, or even days, the transport vehicle reaches its destination, the new Supermax. But this facility is not like the others. This one is even more isolated, even more secure. And the inmate who arrives here knows one thing for sure: they'll never see the outside world again. They'll be locked down in a cell smaller than a prison bathroom for the rest of their life. The aftermath. Once the prisoner is safely behind the walls of the new facility, the guards breathe a collective sigh of relief. But the real work begins now. They have to integrate this individual into the new environment, which can take weeks, even months. They'll be isolated, kept away from other prisoners to prevent any incidents. But even then, there's always the risk of the unthinkable happening. A new Supermax, with its intense security measures, isn't just about keeping criminals locked away. It's about controlling them, ensuring they have no chance of disrupting the fragile order that exists inside. And the transfer? It's a reminder of the limits of the prison system. No matter how secure these places are, there's always someone who will challenge the walls. The story of how these transfers happen, and the people involved in pulling them off, is one of the most closely guarded secrets in the world of high-security prisons. But with every transfer, the stakes grow higher. Because for these prisoners, their world is one of constant danger, and every time they're moved from one Supermax to another, they're one step closer to disappearing into oblivion. The Silent Watchers. In the labyrinth of corridors and heavily fortified cells, there are watchers, eyes in the shadows. These aren't just guards, they are the architects of control. They monitor every move, every breath, and every whisper. Their job is to ensure that the moment an inmate enters their new prison home, they don't get the chance to ignite the chaos they left behind. But even behind walls of steel and miles of razor wire, the inmates are never fully isolated. They communicate, they plan, and they plot. Inside, the gangs still hold power, albeit in ways that are hard to imagine for those on the outside. When a dangerous inmate arrives at a new facility, there's a ripple effect. And it's not just the fear of what the inmate might do that worries the authorities. It's what others will do to try and get close. The shadows have ears, and they are always listening. As the prison system continues to evolve, so does the technology used to track, monitor, and control these dangerous individuals. High-tech surveillance, biometric tracking, and advanced body scans are now part of the daily routine. But the most dangerous prisoners are always thinking ahead. They know that the system is flawed, and they know that no matter how much technology is thrown at them, there's always a way to find a weakness. Every prison transfer is another step in the game. The guards may have control now, but for how long? The influence of the outside world. What many don't realize is that these Supermax prisons are not isolated from the world outside. While the criminals inside are physically cut off from society, their influence stretches beyond the prison walls. The networks they've built, within the prison and outside, are often a force that can't be easily ignored. In some cases, the very reason for a transfer is not just the inmates' actions inside but what they've managed to orchestrate from behind bars. It could be a multi-million-dollar drug operation or even a criminal empire spanning continents. When an inmate is deemed too influential, too connected, that's when the decision is made to move them. And that decision is not taken lightly. The outside world can often play a part in where and how an inmate is moved. Law enforcement agencies, intelligence networks, and even foreign governments may become involved in the decision to relocate a dangerous individual. The motivation is always the same: control. For these Supermax inmates, their power doesn't disappear when they're locked away. It morphs into something else, something more dangerous, as it spreads to new corners of the world. The unseen struggles of the guards. The role of the guards in these operations cannot be overstated. Their training, their resolve, and their dedication are tested to the extreme. It's not just about keeping inmates behind bars. It's about managing the constant, underlying tension that comes with handling the most dangerous criminals in the world. Every transfer brings with it an unspoken anxiety. Will this one go smoothly? Will we make it to the destination without any incidents? Guards are the unseen heroes of the system, but they also face a constant threat, from the inmates, from the system itself, and sometimes even from within their own ranks. The pressure is real. It's a job that requires a level of focus and dedication that most can't comprehend. And yet, behind the scenes, the struggles of these men and women often go unnoticed. They are not just keeping prisoners in check, they are holding the line against an ever-present storm. And while the prisoners are shackled, it's the guards who are often the ones locked in their own invisible chains, trapped by the responsibility of knowing what could happen if they fail. It's a silent, unrelenting pressure that never goes away. The psychological toll. For the inmates, the transfer doesn't just take them physically from one place to another. It takes a psychological toll that can last for years, even decades. The constant movement from one facility to another leaves them with a deep sense of instability. For many, it's the ultimate punishment, the removal of any hope of ever finding peace, any chance of regaining a sense of normalcy. Psychologists who work in the prison system often say that solitary confinement, which many of these inmates experience during their transfers, can have devastating long-term effects. The lack of human contact, the constant pressure, the sense of being alone in the world, can warp a person's mind in ways few can understand. The more dangerous the inmate, the deeper the psychological scars. And while they may be locked away in the deepest recesses of the most secure facilities, the emotional and mental toll of constant isolation is one that can never truly be undone. The future of Supermax transfers. The system is constantly changing, evolving, and adapting. New technology, new strategies, and new rules are always being implemented. But one thing remains the same: the need to keep the most dangerous criminals out of society's reach. What does the future hold for these Supermax transfers? As the world grows more connected, the need for higher security, better control, and more advanced surveillance grows with it. The very nature of these transfers is likely to change, becoming even more secretive, more sophisticated. But even as technology advances, there will always be something raw, something human about the transfers. The decisions that are made in the dark, behind closed doors, will continue to shape the fate of these prisoners. They are not just being moved, they are being erased from the world. Each transfer is another step into the unknown, another chapter in the story of how the most dangerous criminals are kept hidden from view. And for the rest of us, these transfers serve as a reminder of just how fragile the system is. No matter how many walls are built, no matter how many security measures are put in place, there will always be someone out there willing to challenge the system, to push the boundaries, and to find a way out. The question remains, will they ever truly be locked away? Or is this just the beginning of another story, one that's still being written behind the walls of the world's most dangerous prisons? The hidden networks. As the most dangerous criminals are shuffled from one Supermax to another, there's a shift in the balance of power. Every transfer, whether it's in the US, the UK, or elsewhere, creates a ripple effect that often extends far beyond the confines of the prison walls. The prison system may be designed to keep these inmates locked away, isolated from the world they once knew. But these men have been leaders in their communities for years. They've built networks, both inside and outside the prison system. Once an inmate of this caliber is transferred, they often leave behind a void in their previous prison. This void is a space waiting to be filled. Gangs, criminal organizations, and even former inmates outside of prison have their eyes set on the transfer. They may attempt to reconnect, offer alliances, or even attempt to rescue these dangerous criminals. The prison system knows this. It's a game of strategy. The security forces make sure to anticipate the threats, and the most secretive parts of these transfers are planned meticulously. The reality is that no matter how much technology is used, no matter how high the walls are, power can never be fully contained. These prisoners have influence, and sometimes, that influence extends far beyond the high fences and locked doors of a Supermax facility. inside the minds of the most dangerous. To truly understand the significance of these transfers, one has to look deeper into the minds of the men involved. These are not just criminals. They are often men who have spent decades honing their survival instincts, manipulating their environment, and getting others to do their bidding. Psychologists and prison experts have studied these men, and what they find is chilling. Many of these individuals have a deep understanding of power, control, and fear. They know how to survive in the harshest conditions, how to play the system, and how to make others follow their lead. For them, life in a Supermax is just another challenge to be conquered. The transfer is just another game to be played. And as they move from one facility to another, they continue to adapt. They learn the rules, understand the vulnerabilities of their new surroundings, and begin to build new networks. It's a constant chess game, and the stakes are higher than most can imagine. But what happens when these individuals, with their exceptional manipulative skills and thirst for control, begin to influence others? What happens when they use their influence to spread fear, to break the system from within? The guard's dilemma. As these high-profile inmates are transferred, it's not just the criminals who face the weight of responsibility. The guards, those entrusted with ensuring the transfer goes smoothly, are the ones who experience the psychological toll of dealing with the most dangerous men in the world. The pressure is immense. Guards are trained to handle the logistics of the transfer, the movement, the security, and the containment. But no amount of training can fully prepare them for the emotional and mental strain of knowing they are responsible for the movement of some of the most violent and influential men on Earth. For some guards, these operations feel like a battle of willpower. The prisoners are calculated, cold, and extremely dangerous. The guards must maintain a facade of calm, but beneath that, they live with the constant fear that one mistake could result in a disaster. These men and women are on the front lines, keeping the system together, while also trying to maintain their own peace of mind. What happens to them, though, when the emotional weight of their job becomes too much to bear? How does one reconcile the cold, calculating role of being a guard with the deep, personal toll that comes with overseeing the transfer of the world's most dangerous people? The outside world's curiosity. As these transfers happen in secrecy, there's a growing sense of unease among the public. We hear about the most notorious prisoners, but we don't truly understand the full story. How can we? The information is kept under lock and key, hidden from the very people these men impacted. But the curiosity doesn't go away. The media, the public, and even the families of victims wonder, where are these prisoners now? What's happening to them in the dark corners of the system? The truth is, these transfers are almost never fully disclosed. The details are kept confidential for reasons that are both strategic and necessary. The public knows only fragments of the story, snippets of information that stir up speculation. What is really happening behind those walls? For every transfer, there's a layer of secrecy that goes unspoken. Prison officials do not want the public to know too much about these moves, and for good reason. The public might not fully comprehend the gravity of what's at stake. They don't know the tactics, the strategies, or the hidden networks that exist inside the prison system. But for the people inside, the prisoners, the guards, the families, this is a part of the system that continues to remain shrouded in mystery. The public may never fully understand the delicate balance of power, control, and manipulation that these transfers create. A never-ending cycle. At the end of the day, the story of Supermax transfers isn't just about the movement of individuals from one facility to another. It's about a system that is constantly adapting, constantly evolving to handle the threats it faces. Every time an inmate is transferred, the system tightens its grip. New technologies are implemented. New strategies are developed. But the ultimate question remains, will the system ever be enough to fully contain these individuals? Prisoners continue to push the limits of what the system can handle. Guards continue to put their lives on the line. And the public? They continue to wonder what's really happening behind those walls. The cycle is endless. The stakes continue to rise, and the question remains, how long can the system hold up under the pressure? Every transfer tells a new story. And every story reminds us of one thing. The line between order and chaos is thinner than we think. The unseen consequences. Every action in the world of high-security prisons has its consequences, some seen, and many more that remain in the shadows. For the most dangerous criminals, their time in Supermax prisons is just the beginning of their story. But what happens when they are transferred to a new facility? Is it just another chapter in their lives, or does it mark the end of their ability to manipulate the system? The truth is, transferring these prisoners has a far-reaching impact that extends beyond the confines of the facility. Inmates who were once leaders within their respective prisons lose their power when moved. But their absence doesn't just affect the people inside the prison, it also impacts their families and the networks they've built. For years, many of these inmates have had contact with the outside world. They've managed to communicate with family members, friends, and even criminal associates. Now, as they are shifted to a new location, that communication is cut off. For some, this represents the final severing of ties to the outside world. For others, it can make them more dangerous. They become isolated, but their need for power and control only grows. The consequences of these transfers can ripple out to places no one sees. Outside the walls of the Supermax facilities, there are people watching, waiting, and plotting. And that's what makes these transfers even more dangerous. No matter how far they try to push these criminals into isolation, they can never truly be locked away from the world. The inmates who thrive in isolation. While some inmates crumble under the weight of isolation, there are those who thrive in it. These are the men who have been through more than anyone should ever endure, and somehow, they've adapted. Solitary confinement, for many of these prisoners, becomes a twisted sanctuary. It's where they can think, plan, and organize without the interference of others. It's where they regain the power that the system has tried to strip from them. Psychologists who study Supermax inmates often note that, for some, solitary confinement isn't a punishment, it's a state of mind. It's an environment where they feel most at home. They become comfortable with the constant tension, the never-ending quiet. The walls close in, but their minds open up. For the prison system, this is one of the most dangerous dynamics. Because while the physical walls may hold these men inside, they can never truly lock away the power they've cultivated in their minds. And when a transfer is ordered, these inmates aren't just being moved physically, they're being relocated to another space where they'll continue their mental games, where they can exploit any weakness in the system. The evolution of security. As the world of high-security transfers continues to evolve, so does the technology and strategies used to maintain control. The system is constantly changing, adapting to the growing threats posed by these high-profile criminals. The next generation of Supermax prisons will likely look nothing like the ones we have now. New technology, from AI surveillance systems to biometric identification, will play a key role in keeping inmates locked away. However, for all the advancements, the real challenge remains the same: human nature. No technology can account for the cunning and creativity of a dangerous mind. These inmates have been through it all, and no matter how much security is added, they will always find a way to push the limits. The most dangerous criminals are experts at exploiting the system. They can manipulate staff, control other inmates, and even find ways to communicate with the outside world. The prison system knows this, which is why it's constantly working to stay one step ahead. But as technology improves, so does the threat. What happens when the criminals inside these walls learn to use that technology against the system itself? The ethical dilemma. As society continues to grapple with the prison system and the handling of its most dangerous inmates, an ethical dilemma looms large. When is enough enough? At what point does the system become so focused on control that it begins to lose sight of the humanity of those locked inside? For every transfer, for every new policy, there are questions that challenge the integrity of the system. Some argue that the punishment these inmates face is just that their crimes justify the harshest treatment. But others believe that no matter how heinous the crime, we cannot lose sight of the basic principles of justice. When does the cycle of punishment end? Is there ever a point where rehabilitation is possible, or is the goal simply to lock these men away for the rest of their lives? This ethical dilemma has been at the heart of many debates about the prison system. Should the focus be on rehabilitation, or is it a matter of keeping society safe at any cost? It's a question that will continue to shape the way we view and treat prisoners, especially those who are deemed too dangerous to ever re-enter society. The final lockdown. The world of Supermax prisons is one of silence, secrecy, and control. The men held within these walls are the ones who've pushed the limits of what any system can handle. They've broken the rules, shattered lives, and instilled fear in the hearts of many. Yet, no matter how many Supermax prisons are built, no matter how many transfers are carried out, one truth remains. The prison system will always be playing catch-up. These prisoners are always adapting, always learning, always finding new ways to challenge the system that was designed to break them. And as the cycle continues, the questions remain. What happens to these prisoners once they've been moved from one Supermax to another? Will they ever be fully contained? Or is this just another step in a long, unbroken cycle of survival, manipulation, and power struggles? The answers to these questions are locked away in the deepest corners of the prison system, behind steel doors, razor wire, and miles of concrete. But as long as these men exist, the story of Supermax transfers will continue to unfold, one dangerous move at a time. As the final cell door slams shut and the hum of the prison's security systems fills the air, we are left with one undeniable truth. The story of the world's most dangerous criminals doesn't end with their transfer. It never truly ends. For the men locked away in the highest security prisons, the game is far from over. Every transfer, every new location, only sets the stage for a new chapter in their complex battle for power, control, and survival. But for the prison system itself, the question remains, how far can it go to maintain control over those who have shown again and again that they will stop at nothing to defy it? From the moment the first transfer takes place, to the final lockdown of a Supermax prison, the delicate balance of security, fear, and influence teeters on a razor's edge. The authorities will always adapt, always fight back, but so too will the prisoners, always thinking, always plotting, always surviving. And what about the people who pay the price for this unending cycle of control? The families, the victims, and even the guards who live with the unrelenting pressure of keeping it all together. They too are part of this story. They too are shaped by the decisions that are made behind the walls of these imposing fortresses. The world of Supermax prisons is hidden from most of us. It's a world of dark corridors, impenetrable walls, and unspeakable isolation. But what we've learned today is that even in the darkest corners, power, influence, and survival are never far behind. Every transfer, every move, every decision, it all leads to one inevitable conclusion. This is a system that can never truly be contained. And as long as the world's most dangerous criminals remain locked away, the cycle will continue. So, what's next? How long will it take before the next transfer happens? What's waiting behind the walls of the next Supermax? Only time will tell. But one thing is certain, the story of these men, and the institutions that try to hold them, is a story that will never stop evolving. Inside prison walls, where every cell has a story. This concludes the story of From Supermax to Supermax, how the most dangerous inmates are transferred. The cycle of survival, control, and influence will continue to unfold, but now, you have a rare glimpse inside a world few will ever fully understand. If you want to learn more about the secrets and untold stories behind the walls of the world's most notorious prisons, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to Inside Prison Walls for more gripping, in-depth documentaries. Until next time, keep questioning, keep seeking the truth, and remember, some stories are meant to stay hidden, but we're here to bring them to light.